Cheers! What happens if you mix a random adventure game with Tony Hawk's Pro Skater and Left 4 Dead, and then let a group of comic fans on pills cook for a few years? The result might look quite similar to Sunset Overdrive, the subject of today's final review. Sunset Overdrive is a very movement-heavy action-adventure where we shoot and blast our way through hordes of bloat zombies. The game was originally released in 2014 exclusively for the Xbox One and 4 years later also for the PC, and it was one of those releases that looked quirky and interesting but had never had a big impact on the gaming industry, quite similar to Hi-Fi Rush in 2023. But due to its unique style and fun-looking gameplay, I always kept an eye on the game. I even tried it out a few years ago, but well, back then I was welcomed with plenty of crashes and restarts, what then made me put it aside after I think fiddling with it for an hour or so. I mean, well, until now that is. Now I picked it up again, this time I found a solution for the crashes, which I will tell you at the end of the video, and I made it through. And I can now tell you if it might be worth your money and time as well.
Yeah! On behalf of Fizco, I just want to say we are very excited to share our new energy drink with the rest of the world in just a few short weeks. But tonight is all about you, Sunset City! Wow, right! Enjoy being the first people on the planet to drink Overcharge! Yeah! I'm great!
The company Fizco released a new hyped energy drink named Overcharge, but shit hit the fan, and this drink turned people into zombies with ginormous juice abscesses on their body, which would soon run rampant in our city, and of course we are caught right in the middle of it. Our goal now is to survive, clear the hordes of running pimples with self and scrap-made weapons like explosive teddy bear launchers, gather a bunch of allies where we find ourselves shaking hands with samurai pathfinders, ninja cheerleaders, and medieval fantasy LARPers, and we try to get our ass out of this mess. And that's the end of the main story premise. So yeah, despite of its uniqueness, the plot is definitely not what you play Sunset Overdrive for, and its humor isn't helping either after a while, because this game is over the top and pretty much nothing gets taken seriously. The problem is that it tries to do that with everything, and because of that, the whole narrative started to feel empty and artificial to me.
They also stole away with my kingdom's most sacred artifact. The crown of Vargarnia.
Okay, but you guys should probably have guns.
Nay, we shall not besmirch our honor with such sorcery.
Sire, that is very fucking unwise.
I am the king! By definition, everything I do is wise. Upon victory, I will construct your watercraft. To battle!
I did like the cringe and the pipi-caca lulz at the start, but when everything is constantly drenched with this type of humor, it loses its lol factor pretty fast, and I felt that the writers wanted a lot, but lacked the skill to realize that kind of humor the way they intended to. It's usually just stupid for the sake of being stupid. There's no pointe, no clever twist. It's humor on the writing level of a modern SpongeBob episode. And if you're sensible to hard cringe, you have to be very strong whenever they attempt a fourth wall-breaking meta joke. That said, the game is relatively short, with just 9 to 20 hours, and very outgoing about its style and humor. So most people will know what they're getting into. But, you know, sometimes it was just really hard to endure for me. And because most of the cutscenes are not just extremely cringe, but also unskippable, my mind hovered over Alt F4 not just once in my playthrough.
Oh, hey! Welcome to spectacular Sunset City. Okay, here's the situation.
Sunset Overdrive's very cartoony style fits the game like an ass on the bucket. Everything is as over the top as its humor, the game keeps it loud and colorful, even in the midst of a zombie apocalypse, and that we are here to have fun pours out of every aspect of its presentation. From the NPCs, the animations, the items, the stories, the buildings, effects, the music, and more. I mean, you're gonna see what I mean throughout this video yourself, and I just found that really enjoyable. The vertical city environments filled with interactable objects for us to speed through the city, the graffiti-style visuals and the bouncy animations. They are all complementing the tone that the game is going for perfectly, and they make it very appealing to experience, even so many years after its release. The art style of Sunset Overdrive is still very unique today, the gun sounds and effects mostly fit the looks of what they are coming out of, and the music does the rest to encapsulate the quirky and over-the-top nature of this game. And, well, the more is happening on the screen, the more can the game style shine. The game tops that presentation off with a pretty good character editor too. Aside the restrictive character creation the game starts off with, we can enjoy unrestricted customization the very moment we unlock the cosmetic NPC. There we can change our look and body as often as we want, and are going to unlock plenty of cosmetics for our character to buy as we progress through the story or as rewards from missions. At the end of the day, we're going to have more than enough choice to make our characters look how we want. That said, many clothing pieces looked extremely unfitting and oversized for that body type that I have chosen, and they often even floated in the air, like they were meant for a much wider body, they just didn't get adjusted for smaller ones. So you might have to try around a little bit to find something that doesn't look weird, unless you want to look weird, because then the game has a plethora of options for you to choose from. I definitely don't know a game that looks and feels even remotely similar to Sunset Overdrive, and I think it is obvious that I really enjoyed that aspect of it.
Hola! Look what I made for you!
What am I supposed to do with that?
Stab some people, make knights, pry food out of the hospital vending machines. It slaps, it chops! So many uses!
No thanks.
We are dodging, jumping, bouncing, grinding, wall running, and all that while we keep pressing the trigger. Never stop moving and never stop shooting at everything that even remotely resembles a heavily infected furuncle on legs. That is basically the motto of Sunset Overdrive, and that summarizes 90% of its gameplay, which feels pretty smooth when you get the hang of it. In its core, it is fast, it is simple, and it is fun, but then it also adds a bit more complexity with its weapons, its mods, and the style meter over the course of the game. Many weapons in this game are quite special, and luckily the shop offers some rough mini videos showing us what they do, because for most of them it would be a matter of imagination otherwise. That said, the game lacked the clear communication of numbers and values. We never know how hard a weapon hits, how fast it shoots, and before we buy weapons in the shop, we can't even see their damage boost against specific enemy types. What influences their effectiveness against them? Quite a lot. So I found myself looking those up in my browser from time to time, and I just really don't like to do this in my games. Anyway. After we get our arsenal of quirky weaponry together, we stuff them up with a selection of simple stat boosts and so-called weapon mods that we either craft in our bases or unlock from missions. The mods give them nice little side effects, like slowing enemies down, setting them on fire, or the chance to create exploding teddybears on impact, or, well, to summon a Grim Reaper on hit, because why not, I guess. With our weapons done, we complete our builds with character perks that act as passive effects, which usually activate whenever our style meter reaches one of its 3 levels. To make that happen, we chain together all the different movement techniques that we have to our disposal, avoid getting hit as much as possible, and cause a lot of damage ourselves. And those perks are pretty imbalanced, like sending out shockwaves every time you bounce on something, what turns you basically invincible the moment you maneuver your ass over one of the many spots to bounce on in this game. But despite that some things are definitely broken, or maybe even because of it, when all the game's systems finally clicked with me and I got into a good flow, I felt a little bit like a badass. A cringe and slightly moronic badass, but a badass nonetheless. And with all that badassiness concentrated on our character, we go out into the world and wreak havoc. Sadly, Sad World offers not much more than a bunch of collectibles to craft mods and perks with, and simple kill or time challenges. Some of them are more fun and even let you try new weapons, but after you do a handful of these activities, you kinda have seen them all and you just do them for currencies or for their cosmetics. Besides that, we also have the main and side story missions, which both clearly stand out from the generic rest and offer much more diversity in their mission design. Some of them even have boss fights, which were, to my surprise, quite rare in this game, despite what the game could do with all the cool movement in it. But those are clearly the quality flesh of this game. They tell quirky little side stories, and while I think that most challenges in the world can be ignored after the first few hours, I think it was worth to take an occasional look into the side missions, at least here and there. And then there are the base defense missions that fit absolutely zero into this game. I mean, literally everything is about getting into a flow of movement and explosions, and then the game gives you a mission type to defend a stationary place with, traps. For me, that threw everything fun out of the window, and it felt so out of place that it was nothing but a chore to me. At least the very few mandatory ones are quite easy to do, and the rest can be ignored wholeheartedly, but it's probably the single most unnecessary thing in the whole game, and could have been skipped over entirely for what I care. But that's not the biggest problem of the game. The real problem is that Sunset Overdrive becomes super repetitive. Throughout the whole game, I always felt kind of similarly strong, and even within its core gameplay loop, you never have noticeable power spikes within fights itself, like you would have in many other games where actions like charge up some resource and then you would use skills to deplete it again for more damage or utility, right? Like a typical charger spender system. In Sunset Overdrive, if you once get your stay meter to level 3, which is not very difficult to do, you will likely stay there for the rest of the ongoing fight, and level 2 depletes so slow that you can hold it from the end of one mission to the start of another without many issues. You just need to keep grinding and bouncing around on your way to the next objective, what you are likely going to do anyway, and occasionally blast some bloat zombies from the sidewalks, and you are going to be juiced up right from the start. And by becoming quasi-invincible through the perks, the game was pretty darn easy, but also felt more and more stale that way over time. And to add insult to injury, the game felt very stretched towards the end, with an ending that doesn't feel conclusive and which even opens up the story for a sequel, which will probably never happen. But on top of that, there are 2 post-story DLCs with a 2 to 3 hours of playtime, which were simply too much for my taste. I played shortly into both, but after noticing that it adds absolutely nothing to the game's narrative or plot, I just stopped playing when I felt my desire to keep playing the game drop into the literal fears of hell. Don't get me wrong, the general gameplay is fun for quite a while. I have said that very clearly in this video, but it's all that the game has to offer and which can't carry it alone for that long. And when the gameplay feels mostly the same at the 12-hour mark as it felt at the 4-hour mark, it simply is not enough to carry me through it, with a smile on my face that is. Something can be fun for 3 hours, but 15 or even 20 without any significant variation except enemies with more health and more jumps to chain in between the parkour, well, at least it couldn't pull me comfortably through the later stages of the game. Remember that I mentioned crashes at the start of the video? These are seemingly caused by some kind of hiccup with cloud synchronization and are also part of the Steam version of the game. And now, here's how to fix this. First, you have to deactivate the cloud saves for this game. Second, no direct into the game saves folder, the path is in the description to follow. If you can't see some folders, make sure you go under View, Show and check Hidden Items. Third, there are 2 ways now to do this. For one, you can just delete the Steam AutoCloud file. That was enough, for me at least. The second way to do it is to use Notepad. You remove the text inside of that file, you save it, and afterwards you go into the file's properties and check Read Only. After that, the game will likely show you messages about the corrupted save file in-game, and you will see the corrupted save file in the loading menu. But we will not touch that save file and just ignore all the messages about it. That is kind of annoying, but it worked for me flawlessly. Additionally, I would advise you to limit the frame rate of the game to 60 in your graphics drivers for a smoother experience, and after that, nothing will hinder you from a full playthrough. Besides that, Sunset Overdrive is free from any mention-worthy issues. Yes, even this game isn't bug-free, surprise. But it's offline playable, it has no annoying mini-DLCs or an in-game shop, and it's relatively cheap, just tiptoeing under my fuck it limit with about $5 in a Steam sale, and after several appearances and bundles, it is dirt cheap in key shops too. And that's where we are with Sunset Overdrive. A game that is a cool idea. There's a bunch of experiments, some of them are necessary, but is overall a fun and unique experience that sadly burns out a little bit towards the end. So it very much comes down to the question of how long you can keep yourself interested to play the game, or if you feel fine to play as long as you have fun with it, and then just drop it when that fun stops for you. If the humor doesn't hit the right spot for you, there's no need to force yourself through the story, and I think that is absolutely fine. The game is still quite unique and it won't ask you for more money once you bought it. And with that in mind, I think I can give Sunset Overdrive a few well-polished 3 stars. Because it is hard to recommend for me, but despite that, it is still worth a shot if the things on the screen looked fun to you, no matter if you are a fan of the genre or not. I hope my video helped you to make an informed decision, and with that I conclude my final review of Sunset Overdrive. My name is TechDrake, but just call me Techie. Until next time, see ya.